Evan and his wife, Sign, head deep into a famous forest for their honeymoon camping trip, but they soon encounter mysterious forces that push them toward turning on each other. The story begins with Evan, who has just gotten married and is traveling with Sign to enjoy their vacation in a long stretch of forest filled with waterfalls. During summer, these waterfalls attract tourists from far away, which is why the couple planned to camp near one of them. But after checking the map for a long time, they couldn't pinpoint the exact location and realized they needed to go deeper into the forest. They stopped at a nearby shop to gather some supplies. As Sign stepped out of the car, a dog locked in a cage began barking aggressively at her, startling her, but she quickly went inside the shop. Meanwhile, Evan kept studying the map until he noticed another man, the driver of a nearby car, named German. Evan walked over and asked him for directions to the waterfall. German, who had lived in the area for years, suggested they skip the waterfall and instead visit a beautiful riverside spot called Stone Creek. He gave Evan detailed directions, so the couple decided to follow them. However, something about German felt strange, almost as if he was trying to lure them into something. What mysterious danger waits for Evan and Sign, and what troubles will they face? They soon set off toward Stone Creek, talking excitedly about how they would enjoy their time there, when suddenly Evan noticed a car following closely behind German's car. Evan began to feel uneasy and sped up, but the mysterious driver's car stayed right behind them, distracting Evan so much that he drifted into the opposite lane. Evan narrowly avoided crashing his car, while German's vehicle, which Evan thought was following them, simply continued straight ahead, proving it was all in Evan's head and the driver wasn't actually chasing them. A little later, Evan and Sign finally reached Stone Creek. They noticed another car already parked there, meaning some other tourists were also enjoying the area. After walking near the beautiful pond, they decided to set up their camp, though the earlier visitors had already built theirs. Evan and Sign brought their gear, found a good spot, and began setting up. They were excited, since this vacation meant a lot to them. After their marriage, the pressure of their corporate jobs had kept them from traveling anywhere. That's why they promised themselves they would enjoy every moment. Evan headed into the forest to gather firewood for the evening and collected plenty, but along the way he found a child's hat lying on the ground. He didn't know where it came from or who it belonged to, so he set it back where he found it, assuming someone dropped it. He then returned to Sign, and the two ate, relaxed, and enjoyed their time as night slowly fell, making the place even more magical. They hoped this would be their best vacation ever, but the truth was far different. Meanwhile, German was shown at a nightclub with his brother, Rock. They were sitting at a table chatting with two beautiful girls. It was New Year's Eve, with only a few hours left before midnight, and everyone was eagerly waiting for the celebration. German was having a drink, while Rock was busy flirting with the girls and even trying to impress them. German didn't like this at all and signaled his brother to stop, but Rock ignored him, pulled out his phone, and began taking photos of the two girls. German grew even angrier, clearly noticing that the two girls were becoming uncomfortable. Later, when German and Rock stepped into the restroom, German exploded at him, grabbed Rock's phone, slammed it on the floor, and shattered it. He demanded to know how Rock even dared to take photos of two strangers. German's anger came from the fact that he had already spent years in prison for similar behavior and didn't want his brother repeating the same mistakes. Rock understood this, so he didn't argue back. German stormed out, while Rock gently picked up the broken phone and stared at it with surprising affection. Whose phone was it, and why was German so attached to it? The answer would soon be revealed. Meanwhile, the New Year's countdown began in the club. Everyone was drinking and having fun, but in the middle of all this, Rock suddenly leaned in and tried to kiss one of the girls. Furious, she slapped him hard and walked away. Rock felt humiliated, and it seemed he wouldn't forget it. Clearly he had a disturbed, unstable mind. Back at the campsite, Evan and Sign were enjoying themselves around the fire after a full meal. They celebrated New Year's happily and eventually fell asleep inside their tent. Hours later, in the morning, Sign woke up and looked around, noticing that the second tent nearby still had no one inside. She went to check it out and found nothing but the tourists' belongings. Evan joined her after a while and searched too. Whoever owned the tent still hadn't returned, maybe they went home early. This time, Evan didn't overthink it and continued enjoying the day with Sign. The couple spent hours by the riverside, relaxing in the peaceful surroundings. Eventually, Evan and Sign realized it was getting very late and they needed to head back home. They packed up their camp, gathered all their belongings, and walked to their car, only to be shocked to find that someone had punctured their tire. Nothing like this had happened when they arrived, so they had no idea who was behind it. Evan immediately began working on changing the tire while Sign gathered the rest of their supplies near the car. She had no idea that a small child was quietly standing right behind her. Since she didn't look back, she remained completely unaware. She walked over to Evan to help, and Evan asked her to grab a few more tools he needed to fix the car. But as soon as Sign walked to the other side of the car, she screamed. Evan rushed over and they both found a little girl lying on the ground, injured. They had no clue who she was or where she came from. Out of basic humanity, they picked her up and placed her inside their car, treating her wounds with whatever first aid they had. They knew they needed to find her parents as soon as possible, and they hoped the parents were somewhere nearby. Since Evan's car was in no condition to drive out of the forest, he attempted to start another car parked nearby, but he couldn't find the keys inside. It was impossible to get it running. After waiting a while, another vehicle finally arrived and stopped near them. Rock stepped out. When he approached Evan and Sign, they explained everything and showed him the injured child. Rock looked inside the car and was shocked. This was clearly something he never expected. But he didn't tell Evan or Sign the truth about why he reacted that way. Instead, he lied and said he had seen the girl's parents somewhere around the forest and that they might have gotten lost. Rock insisted they needed to go help the child's parents immediately, and Evan agreed. After all, a child belonged with her parents, and if the parents were in danger, the little girl had nowhere else to go. As Evan prepared to join him, Rock returned to his car and came back carrying several guns and supplies. He explained that he worked as a hunter in the forest, capturing wild animals to sell, and the guns were only for protection. But something about him felt off to Sign, and she tried to stop Evan from going. Evan, however, was determined. If the girl's parents were trapped, they needed help. He asked Sign to stay in the car with the child and promised to return quickly. Sign reluctantly agreed and got inside the car. Evan and Rock quietly headed deeper into the forest, hoping to find the parents soon so everyone could safely leave. Meanwhile, Sign stayed in the car, watching over the girl. After a short while, another car pulled up. This time, it was German. Sign told him everything. Her husband Evan and a man named Rock had gone into the forest to search for the injured girl's parents. German reacted strangely but first checked the child to confirm something, then said he would help find her parents. He and Sign discussed the direction the two men had taken. Deep in the forest, Evan and Rock continued searching until they reached an open clearing, where they found several injured people. Evan rushed toward them and discovered one man was already dead, but a woman nearby was still alive. He quickly removed the cloth from her mouth to check if she was okay. Evan tried to reassure the injured woman, telling her that her daughter was with them and that help had arrived, but as Rock stared at the wounded lady, fear washed over his face. Clearly he was connected to whatever had happened. The moment Evan tried to lift her, Rock suddenly raised his gun and shot her point blank. She died on the spot, leaving Evan shocked and unable to understand why Rock had done it. Sign heard the gunshot from afar and panicked, though German seemed to know exactly what his brother was doing. Rock then admitted to Evan that he and German had killed those people, and now it was the couple's turn. Terrified, Evan realized they were targets. Meanwhile, German grabbed his gun and marched into the forest, and Sign immediately sensed something was wrong. She ran into the car, locked the doors, but German smashed the mirror and tried to drag her out. Sign fought back, slashing his hand with a knife. While German tended to the bleeding, she grabbed the little girl and ran. German quickly bandaged his wound, released his trained dog from the car, and sent it after her. The dog was clearly skilled enough to track her down. If someone is ever trapped in a forest being chased by a trained dog, survival depends on understanding how these animals work. They locate their target mainly by scent and sound. So the first rule is to stay absolutely silent, because trained dogs not only sniff incredibly well, they also hear every little noise. Remember, whichever direction you run, keep dropping sticks or anything you can find along the way to create obstacles for those dogs. And if any of you know basic pet training commands, shout stop, no, or go home. These are common words trainers use to command their dogs, and they usually respond. If you're lucky, the dog might stop right there. But if it doesn't and keeps getting closer, start throwing your clothes or anything you're wearing to the opposite side. Since dogs have a strong sense of smell, they track your body scent and the fragrance of your clothes easily. Throwing your clothes away can distract them and give you a better chance to escape. And if that still doesn't work, cover your body with mud. This will wipe out your natural smell, and the dog chasing you won't be able to identify you at all. Combining all these methods can create a solid escape plan that might actually save your life. But in Evan's situation, things were getting extremely dangerous. Why did German and Rock do all this, and who does that little girl belong to? To explain that, the story moves into a flashback. It begins with an unknown family that once came to this very place to enjoy their vacation. There was a man named John, here with his beautiful wife, Tessie. They had an older daughter named Lynn, and the little girl we saw at the beginning of the story was their youngest. The whole family had come camping by the riverside. John was thrilled because after a long time, he finally got a chance to spend quality time with his family. John, Tessie, and Lynn worked together to set up the camp, and after preparing everything, John started cooking, something he absolutely loved. Tessie stayed busy taking care of the little girl, while Lynn was clicking tons of photos on her phone. They finished almost all their preparations, and before they knew it, night had fallen. After lighting a fire, they ate a hearty meal and sat together chatting. At one point, John mentioned hearing that strange people lived in this area, people who killed tourists and stole their belongings. Escaping from them was said to be impossible, and they supposedly had strange powers. Hearing this made Lynn really nervous, but John quickly said he was just joking. Nothing like that was actually possible here. The next moment, John began playing his guitar, making his wife and daughters smile. Everyone continued enjoying their night just like that. But the next morning, Lynn suddenly woke up screaming from a nightmare. John and Stacy rushed over and tried to calm her down. Poor Lynn must have seen something frightening, and she was still shaken. After finishing their morning tasks, John and Stacy got ready to explore the forest for a while. They asked Lynn to join them, but she was busy taking photos on her phone and refused, saying she would wait for them there. John and Stacy understood and headed into the forest with their younger daughter. Lynn had clear instructions: if she felt tired, she shouldn't rest in the tent but sleep inside the car instead. After they left, Lynn kept taking photos for a long time. When she started feeling sleepy, she went into the car, put in her earphones, and fell asleep, assuming her parents would return soon and they would leave together. But things were not going to be that simple. After some time, a car pulled up in the same area. German and Rock were inside. The two brothers patrolled this entire region looking for tourists. When they spotted the riverside campsite, they came to investigate. Rock was the first to notice Lynn sleeping inside the car. He even tried calling out to her, but since she had earphones on, she couldn't hear him and kept sleeping. German also noticed the girl and wondered who she was with. He assumed someone else must be inside the tent and that they had gone into the forest. To him, this was the perfect opportunity to pull the girl out and take her away. Rock warned his older brother to be cautious because one of his past mistakes had already put him in jail for several years. But German assured him they wouldn't make any mistakes this time, they only needed to take advantage of the situation as much as possible. Rock agreed, and he started banging hard on the car to wake Lynn up. She opened her eyes and saw Rock, but his aggressive behavior frightened her. She refused to unlock the doors and told them to leave. Even after Rock repeatedly told her to open it, she refused, so he began yelling to scare her. Terrified, Lynn started honking the car horn to alert her parents. Hearing the noise, German also ran over to the car. Since Lynn was already awake, he pointed a gun directly at her, forcing her to unlock the door. The brothers quickly dragged her out and held her tightly. Meanwhile, in the forest, John and Stacy had also heard the sound of the horn. Stacy feared her daughter might be in danger. John quickly dropped everything he was carrying, told Stacy to hold their younger child, and ran as fast as he could toward the campsite to save Lynn. As he reached the area, he saw clearly that two men were holding his daughter captive. As John ran toward them to save Lynn, German suddenly struck him hard and knocked him unconscious. Poor Lynn could do nothing in that terrifying moment. It was obvious now, German and Rock were planning to wipe out the entire family. Time kept passing, but John didn't return, and Stacy grew worried. She rushed back to the tent with her younger daughter and immediately saw everything. In panic, she placed the child inside the tent and jumped straight at the two brothers. But German and Rock were far stronger. They knocked Stacy out as well and tied her up along with John and Lynn. The whole family was now helpless, and there was no one around to help them escape. Rock checked Lynn's phone, which had many photos from their trip. It was the same phone we saw with him in the nightclub earlier in the story. From the photos, it was clear they had a younger child with them, one who wasn't present at the scene. The brothers started questioning John and Stacy, demanding to know where the younger daughter was. But the parents refused to say anything. That's when those two psychopaths began their twisted game. They placed a beer can on John's head and started shooting at it. But John kept shaking in fear, causing the can to fall every time. After 2 or 3 failed attempts, Rock lost his temper. Without hesitation, he picked up his gun and shot John dead. Stacy watched helplessly, crying uncontrollably, unable to do anything. They repeated the same sick game with Stacy, placing a can on her head while German fired at it. He missed twice, and in rage, he shot Stacy too. Little Lynn lay on the ground, terrified and unable to move, and they killed her as well. Just like that, the two brothers wiped out an entire family. Only the little child survived, but they didn't take her seriously. Rock and German decided to leave, assuming the baby would die on her own. A few hours later, Even and Sign arrived to camp at the same spot. And now, the story returns to the present. Rock held Evan at gunpoint and revealed everything they had done. But Evan, terrified yet desperate, lunged at Rock. He pushed him to the ground and ran deeper into the forest. Rock fired several shots at him, but Evan had already gained distance. Meanwhile, German was chasing Sign through the forest as she desperately ran with the baby. Rock had no idea his brother was nearby. He kept firing blindly into the bushes, assuming he was aiming at Evan or Sign. But one of those bullets hit someone. When Rock reached the spot, he realized he had accidentally shot German. His brother lay on the ground, bleeding and gasping. Shocked, Rock rushed to him, trying to comfort him, but German's condition was critical. The baby in Sign's arms began crying, revealing their location. Rock followed the sound, gun in hand, and quickly cornered them. He took the child and brought her back to his dying brother. Rock was furious, and after watching his brother die, it was clear he wasn't planning to spare anyone. Evan witnessed everything from a distance, waiting for the right moment to save his wife. Rock held German as he suffered in pain, and German begged him to end it. Rock didn't want to. German was the only family he had left, but in the end, he realized it was the only mercy he could give. He finally put his brother out of his misery. But now it was obvious, he wasn't going to let Sign live. He threw the baby aside and began torturing Sign brutally. Holding her at gunpoint, he dragged her to a tree and tied her up, hurting her physically and mentally so she would scream louder. His plan was simple: if Evan heard her, he would have no choice but to come out, and then Rock could kill them both. Despite Sign's desperate screams, Evan didn't show himself. He knew Rock would shoot him first. Instead, he ran straight to Rock's car, started it, and sped off to find help from the police. Rock heard the engine and realized Evan was escaping. He freed Sign, forced her into another vehicle, and chased after him. Evan had already created a big lead, but Rock pushed his car to the limit as well. Sign, sitting beside him, grew furious and attacked Rock mid-drive, throwing the car off balance. The vehicle crashed violently into the trees, and both were knocked unconscious, though Rock seemed to be the one more seriously injured. Meanwhile, Evan reached the police station, gathered 2 officers, and rushed back into the forest. At the crash site, Sign slowly dragged herself out of the wrecked car. When she spotted the flashing police lights approaching, she immediately turned on the car's headlights to signal them. The police officers rushed to the spot, telling Evan to stay inside the car as they moved toward Sign. Just as they reached her, the injured Rock crawled out from behind the wreckage. He grabbed a gun and shot both officers dead on the spot. He even fired at Evan, the bullet hitting Evan's shoulder. Rock's leg was badly injured, but he still limped forward and pointed his gun at Evan, forcing Sign, who was hiding, to come out. Rock shoved both of them into the car and ordered them to drive, threatening to kill them if they made a single wrong move. He only wanted one thing now: treatment. If his leg didn't get help soon, the infection would spread. Sign and Evan sat in the front, silently exchanging looks, knowing they couldn't let themselves die like this. Suddenly, Sign slammed the gas pedal and crashed the car on purpose. It flipped violently, injuring Rock even more. Evan passed out, but Sign refused to waste the opportunity. She jumped on Rock and attacked him relentlessly, finally grabbing a large stone and smashing it into his face. After taking brutal blows, Rock died right there. Exhausted, Sign dragged herself to Evan and tried to help him. Hours later, the scene shifted to the hospital, where Sign was being treated and looked stable. When she walked into the next room, she found Evan alive as well. They shared a long, emotional look, relieved that the nightmare was finally over. But what about the little girl still lost in the forest? No one knew if she was alive or dead. All we see is German's trained dog circling around her, maybe protecting her, maybe keeping her alive. The story ends on that suspenseful note.